So I'm getting back to test fitting the Vintage Air, the whole box. And if you remember, I said earlier, I talked to Vintage Air and they said I should be able to. They should have to maybe make some minor modifications. So as you can see, it's sitting in there. You can kind of see the lines are lined up there and they're in where they need to be. And the box is just kind of sitting there, it's resting. So the biggest thing I have is these brackets right up here. And there's some on the other side there too. That's what holds the computer. So the computer sits up in there and it's gonna have to go someplace else. I think I have seen other people who have mounted it in other spots. I think I saw one guy who put a box like right here and mounted it. I'm not sure. Once I get, because all the air duct is going to come out of these 4 spots here. So I'm going to have air ducting there. So I might be able to maybe do it up here. Shit, I almost dropped it. So I might be able to get it in there. If not, I don't know. I'll probably have to maybe mount it up here like this. And the next problem is that hole right in here, if that grommet is in there, it's gonna be riding up against this little electrical motor that opens and closes the vents, and I'm not super excited about that because this is gonna sit up a little bit higher like that. So I don't like having that hole in the firewall, but I don't know, maybe I can find a different style of grommet and stick it in there, possibly. But it literally needs to make like almost a 90-degree bend going towards the driver's side. But that's where I'm at for now. So I'll show you the inside. As this is where the lines are gonna come out. And that one other big AC line comes out here. You're gonna have grommets for these 2 holes. And then, of course, there's your heater core lines and these are your AC lines. The other big one will have to be attached once the box is in there and mounted, because then you won't be able to get it in because it sticks out, you know, almost a little bit further than this one does. So what I'm gonna do is, well, you'll have to, once I mount it for sure, your bolts are going to go through here and here, and it's got a threaded nut on the mounting bracket that we did in the earlier video. So those will have to go in there, and that's going to be a 2-man job because you're going to have one person to hold it in place, and you have the other person. Oh, and then there's, sorry about the jets. Then on the back side of here and here, of these 2, you're going to have about a 1/2-inch long plastic spacer that's going to go in between the other side of this piece and the bracket that's on the box itself. So you'll have to have, that's another thing, you're gonna have to feed that bracket or that spacer up in there, then feed the bolt through. And like I said, it's got a nut like welded onto that bracket, so you don't have to somebody hold that on the back side. So this is where we're at for now. Just a little update. So we're gonna get that done hopefully today. I'd like to run the lines, and then I'll have to do the AC compressor one of these days. But you know, I've got a serpentine belt. I've got the correct compressor for it, but I'm gonna have to take off the belt. I'm gonna have to take off the tensioner because this is all connected, and then mount that one in place. It probably wouldn't hurt to dry fit that in there too and make sure that thing fits. So I'll probably work on that next. So that's where I'm at for now. All right, so I've got the box like test fitted in there. And as you can see, that whole bracket where the computer was mounted, that's gotta go because you gotta drill 2 holes in here to mount that the rest of the way. So for now, my computer's gonna sit over there and I'll reroute that all later. Next is gonna be the drain hose, because I need to fit that and get that where I want it so I can drill that hole. So here's the hose it comes with. There's a little angle tube, kind of like that, sticking out of the bottom of it like that. So you're gonna run this, you're gonna put a 5/8 inch hole here, feed this through, and then this will go on the end of it to drain it out, drain any condensation, because obviously if you got carpet, which I'm not going to, but even if you had carpet, you don't want that coming in. So I'm gonna go straight down here. I don't have my marker, but I'm gonna mark a hole right there. I'm gonna drill that. And I've got my step drill, and I already marked it with some electrical tape, so I don't go too deep with it. It's all right, I don't go too deep with, too big with the hole. So there we go. Ay, that's hot. That is hot. Ouch. Let's see, that hole is, yeah, just big enough. I'll probably seal that up with some glue, some silicone later on once I'm done. So that's done. I'm gonna take the box back out here and then get this thing mounted in, and I think we should, actually I could probably go ahead and put it on right now. Let's just go ahead and put this thing on. Slide this on here. It goes on there pretty snug, so I'm not too worried about any leaks coming from there, but you could probably put some sealant on there if you wanted to. All right. So there it is. Oh, it's come out through part of my bracket. Now, there you go. See? Should have measured a little bit better, but as you can see, it took a notch out of my bracket, but it's still at a decent enough angle. I'm not too worried about it for now. So snip that off a little bit and put this on the end, and we should be ready to go. I see that this line's real close, and that one is too. So I'm gonna probably make these holes a little bit bigger as well, just because you don't want that thing rubbing right on there and then you get a leak. You have to take this all apart to get back into it. So I'm gonna just pull this box back out, make that hole a little bit bigger, and get her back in, get going. I've got the heater box mounted in the back here. We got the two AC lines. I've got the heater hose. This is the one that goes to the intake manifold, as you can see back in there, this line right here. This one goes to the pump. It says make sure to keep it in this orientation, and of course it's got that little arrow on the side pointing that direction, and it shows that in the directions too. So that goes into the bottom one. Top one goes from here. It says to water pump, but the other one says from intake manifold, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna have to go that direction. I'm currently getting ready to, I'm painting my valve covers because I'm gonna replace that valve cover gasket. Yeah, I know, it looks horrible, but that's down the line. So I can't get it off with the compressor on, so I'm gonna get that put back on here. Then I can mount the compressor. And the problem I'm having now, and I called Vintage Air and they really don't have a solution for it, which isn't that big of a deal, but the serpentine belt on mine is very short. The original one that was on it before, and the pulley is about 4 inches in diameter on the factory, and the new Sandin compressor is like 5 inches in diameter. So I'm just gonna take it over to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and just see if I can get one that's same style, same thickness, but you know, a couple inches longer, and hopefully that'll work. So I've got that done. I started working on the wiring. So I've got the wiring in here. This is it's the red, the big red one, the big white one, and the blue. As you can see right there, those are coming through that hole along with the antenna wire. So that's going through here, going through the fender, coming out around here, and then when I get a chance, I'll go ahead and plug that in. White goes to ground, red goes to the negative, red goes to the positive, and they say the best thing to do is mount it directly to the battery. So I've got enough wire there, I've got it loomed, so we're good there. That blue wire will then go around to the front. And again, another problem I'm gonna have is this right here is sticking out too much. That's gonna have to be kind of ground. I'm gonna have to get in there and probably cut a chunk out of this, because otherwise that AC line that's coming in, or the Freon line that's coming in from there, from here, is gonna be rubbing on there. And the last thing you want is that thing rubbing. So there it is right in there. And then we've still got a line coming off the dryer, and then the blue wire coming from the box goes into the right one here. That's why I'm leaving the dash off, or the grill off. I got the box finally all mounted. It's all stuck up in there. It was tough. It's a two-person job for sure. So what I did was I had my son go in, and the bolt that goes in the top, I'll see if I can show you. That bolt right there goes through the top, and then the bottom one comes in the back underneath here somewhere. So the best thing to do was to take was to mount that one, because you have a 1/2-inch spacer that's got to go between the firewall and the black bracket, and that's tough to get that in there. So what I did is I had him just bolt in the top one without the spacer, just so it could hang without me having to support the weight of it. It's not that heavy, but it's a pain in the ass. So we put that bolt in, then we did the bottom one with the spacer. When we got that in, tightened that one down, then took that top bolt back out, and then put the spacer in there. Still a little bit tough, but you have to have the dash off. And again, I'm glad I had my dash off, because otherwise I would have had to totally torn all this stuff apart. It says you got to pull out the ashtray. Yeah, you're gonna have to do that. So the wiring is kind of funky, and I've just got it up out of the way. So you have one that comes in and plugs in. Well, here, first off, that red, white, and blue one come in here, and that goes in the harness. Then you've got this harness with this green and red, and it's got a white ground off of it. So one of the bolts that I put through the firewall, I just ground it to that. Plugs into this little thing here. This goes into this plug, and then that plug plugs into the main loom, the big part of it. So from there, I've just got it zip tied up out of the way so it's not falling down all over the place. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make that look a little bit prettier. The other end of it plugs in here. This is the one that comes from your dash controls, which I've already got wired up. Then I've got this extra white wire and this extra tan wire, and I'm not quite sure what they're for, because the directions don't really say what they're there for. Then, I think the tan one had, it said something about if you have an LED light for this thing to plug into it or something like that. I don't know. The original one just had a light bulb on it somewhere. I'm not quite sure where it went. It probably fell down, but just a regular old bulb that plugged into the back of the old one. So I don't know. I might give it a shot, see if it happens, see if it doesn't. If not, I'm not gonna cry about it, because I really don't care that much. Next is this purple wire, which says key hot. So I just found a wire that had already been cut, and I think it was from the previous loom, because I cut out all the wiring from the original part. So that's key hot, so hot when the key's on, obviously. Connected that one. I'm just gonna stick that back in there, and I'm leaving it long just in case I can, when I make this loom look a little bit prettier, I can mess with that later. This is just zip tied up out of the way, so that way I can work at the rest of this. And again, there's the computer. I'm gonna have to find a home for that somewhere. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to maybe screwed in up there, because it's got 4 holes and it's got those bolts in it. So I don't know if I could maybe. Then of course, then you've got your 4 ports for the AC ducts that are going to come out there and go to your defrosters or your vents, or whichever way. So I'm gonna have to put all that in first and then see if I can figure out a better home for this computer. I don't know where it's gonna go, but if that's my biggest problem with this whole thing, then I'm not really gonna cry too much. I still need to get up in here and drill those holes for the rest of the support. You can see it still wobbles a little bit, but I need like a right angle drill or something like that to get in there. So that's where I'm at. I'm probably gonna call it a day for now, but we got the box in and mounted. We got the wiring all complete and plugged in. We got the heater hose connected. And once this valve cover dries, I'm gonna stick that back on there. I'm gonna put my compressor on, and I guess probably tomorrow morning go over to the shop and see if I can't get a longer serpentine belt. Oh, the other end of this plug, the little, I'll show it to you again, but what it is this is the pump, and I didn't want that sticking all over the place, so I stuck it through that hole by itself. And then the other end of that wire comes in and it plugs in to this thing right here. So what, and then this goes to that plug there again. The other end of that white wire went up to here, and I just ground that with an extra nut on there. So that's got a ground. So yeah, that's where I'm at for now. So I'll get back to it probably tomorrow morning and hopefully get the rest of this stuff mounted back in. All right, so next step I'm at now is running the coolant or Freon lines for the compressor. So I got the compressor mounted, and I finished the wiring through the harness. So again, the rest of the wiring that comes out from the front, there's a big white one that goes to your negative, a big red one that goes to your positive, and then there's a blue one. I accidentally cut it a little bit short, but that blue one comes through and goes to the right side of the dryer. The other blue one here, that's the one that goes directly to the compressor itself. So that blue wire feeds through here, and what I did was I ran it along here so it's not getting caught on anything, and then it is the connection there, the connection to the compressor. So again, I called Vintage Air because I'm gonna need to drive this over to the shop, and they said in the instructions, sorry, more jets. So they said you can run this with the serpentine belt as long as it's not plugged in, it's not engaged, because you can ruin it otherwise. So just the pulley is going to be moving. The clutch is not going to be engaged, so we don't have to worry about damaging that. So just going to leave that unplugged for now. Then my coolant lines, you've got this top one is the 1/2-inch line right on there. It's already got that one fitting on there, and then the other fitting on here comes separately. It's the one with the low pressure plug on it. I've made a mark and I taped it too, so it's in that orientation. So if I go and have somebody crimp that on, they're not going to put it on and then the hose wants to sit backwards. So I'm keeping it in that orientation. The next one is the 13/32 hose, and these fittings you can't really mix up because the diameter is smaller on this one. The inside diameter is smaller also, so you can't mix those two up, which is a good thing. I had that Mark II, so that way when I have it crimped, it'll go in. That feeds into this line, and that line is the 91156. That goes in there. That's your high pressure connection. I tried to get that to I might try that again. Might try that. So probably would help if that was sitting upright so the mechanics can work with that. So that one comes in, the 91156 comes in, and that one goes directly into there, into the top of the condenser, right in that fitting right there. I haven't tightened any of those up, I'm just test fitting everything. The other line that comes off of here comes up, and that is the, which one is this? The 91155. That one comes over, and remember, I thought I was gonna have to grind some of this out, but I've got enough room in there. I might put some kind of rubber some kind of insulation or something around that to give it a little extra padding so it's not rubbing on the metal. That one goes down, connects to the 91149, the L-shaped one. That goes over, connects here. That connects to the 91150. That one goes up here. Again, I'm just test fitting. And then that one goes and connects to the bottom one. So these are all different sizes, so you can't mix them up again. So that line is the one that connects down there. I've got this all test fitted. I'm gonna try and find a shop where I can go and get these crimped on professionally, so I can get that stuff plugged in at least, because I've got to go back to work tomorrow and I really don't want to have to mess around with that. So the wiring was all done inside. All I really got to do is put my negative battery cable back on and get it to the shop, plug in the compressor lead, and have it charged. Otherwise it should be done. Everything should be good to go. Other than that, it's just going to be, well, running the air ducts, but I got to do that at a later time. So yeah, sorry these are short clips, but just wanted to show you where I'm at, what I've got done, instead of hours of me messing with it. So that's where I'm going to pause for now. Alright, so got my last two hoses made. The rubber ones that connect to the top of this. They are made, they're going to go on here in a second. So I've finally got an appointment to get this thing checked and charged for the Freon so we can get this rolling. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to go through all my lines and make sure they all have the little green O-rings, make sure I'm not missing anything on that side, because I really don't want to take it in there and have them say, oh, it's not working, something's broken, something's leaking, something, whatever. So that's what I'm going to do now. Next thing are my two rubber lines. So when you get them with this end already on, and that's the high pressure line. You're going to get a long chunk of hose. You're going to have to cut it to length, and then have it taken someplace and get crimped on. So the hose is not going to want to twist like you would think it would. So what I did was I put it all together with this uncrimped, put it on here and put the hose in the orientation that I wanted it and how it was going to sit and look good. Marked it with a marker and said to the guy, you know, just boom, crimp it on that way. That way we don't have to worry about it being torqued when it's in there. I tried to get it so the high pressure thing was sticking up, but it just didn't want to, so that's where we're at for now. And these little caps on the compressor, these are pressurized too, so keep the caps until you're done with everything. And also, green ring, it's pressurized too. Whatever gas that is that they have it sealed with, that's going to come out. Make sure you don't inhale that. That's too big. There's three sizes of these rings. The little ones are for like the little metal lines. You get the middle sized ones for these fittings. I think the bigger ones are going on the other one, but you'll be able to tell because it's going to fit on there nice and snug. Make sure it's not twisted up. And always, always, always put this sealant on it. Make sure it's supposed to help it seal correctly. If you have to, put a little extra on, I guess. It doesn't hurt. As long as you don't run out of it. Alright, so I'm gonna get that on there, get that seated. Get that snug but not crazy tight. And then I kept these blue caps on here because I don't want anything getting in there. I don't want it getting contaminated or getting some crud in there that I have to take this stuff apart, clean it out, or have a new hose made, or whatever problem might come about. really don't want that problem. So keep those caps, keep the caps on them until you're ready for like your final assembly. That's that line here, it's the big one. Alright, this one, big end's a 7/8. That's on the rubber hose, and the 3/4 on the other side. And again, watch your battery. Right here by your battery. I just unplug it, I unhook it. The last thing I want to do is short out something or shoot sparks in my eye by hitting that. And then this is the 7/8 on here as well. Get that good snug for now. I think that's good for now. So we'll leave that, keep those caps. And then same thing with this one. I had to have him crimp on this end here, and I marked it with a marker where I wanted him to line it up with the writing on there just to make it easy, so they crimped that. These ones that have the bends in them are both going on the top of the air compressor. Right down on top of that. You've got your two AC lines that are going to be on the passenger side, far passenger side. Obviously, it's the only one that fits because the other one below it is way smaller. So it's kind of idiot-proof. So it's only going to plug into one line. Helps to keep the hose in a straight orientation while you're screwing that on, or else it's not going to want to twist. So let me get that fed in. All right, grab it too tight. All right, so that should be everything. Heater hoses are in, AC lines are in, everything's hooked up, wiring's all hooked up. The only thing that's not hooked up is the little black wire on the end of this. I've already got my other blue wire going from the dryer, the binary switch, to that. So I called Vintage Air and just double checked. I can drive this with the pulley running and it's not going to damage the compressor, just so long as the clutch is not being engaged. He said that I could run it forever. So I just don't have power going to it, I don't have it connected. So literally just drove to work and back, and that's it. So I've got all my fittings, everything's connected, everything should be tight.